A couple of weeks ago, the Lord gave me a word about the inflation that's taken place, and that we as believers. Oh, did I turn on? Okay. That we as believers are not to fear, that we're not to let our hearts get troubled. Because just as the plagues affected Egypt, Goshen was protected. We live in Goshen. We dwell in Goshen. Just because you see inflation taking place out there in the world, just because gas prices may get up to 5, 6, 7, I don't know what they're at right now. I don't pay attention. Just because they get up there, you've got a Jehovah Jireh. You've got a Father that loves you, cares for you, and will provide for you and make a way for you. It doesn't matter if gas gets to be $100 a gallon. You pick the number. I don't know what number is big for you, but it doesn't matter. You've got a God that will provide for you. The world will participate in all that, but you do not have to. Key words there. Do not have to. Lord, last night, I went and got a massage last night, and the Lord gave me 2 words while I was getting my massage. First word is, the day of the outcast is coming. The day of the outcast is coming. You know, today's political scene is not healthy for Christians. Today's cultural scene is not healthy for Christians. Christians are criticized. Christians are looked at as being the fault or the cause that Roe versus Wade was overturned, and the world is angry. Have you seen any of the videos that they're doing to mock the things of God, in doing mock baby sacrifices? Oh, it's terrible. You know, Christians are being mocked for standing up for life. Christians are being mocked for wanting to trust God during a pandemic that has only affected 2% of the population of this nation. Car accidents affect more percentage. Christians are being mocked for being sexually intolerant. For not acknowledging that there are more than 2 sexes. Christians are being mocked. But the day of the outcast is coming. There is a chess game going on right now in the spirit. And the competition is no competition. The competition is no competition. But God right now is maneuvering people, chess pieces, into place. And we see this very same thing in 2 Kings. Elisha went through something very similar. And the people of Elisha's day. There was a famine in the land in 2 Kings chapter 6, verse 25. It says this, there was great famine in Samaria, and indeed they besieged the city until a donkey's head was sold for 80 shekels of silver, and 1/4 of a cab of dove droppings for 5 shekels of silver. I don't know how big a cab is, but they're buying bird dung to eat. And they're paying good money for it. There was a famine in the land. So much so that a lady calls out to the king and says, "King, help me." And the king, who really didn't revere God, says, "What can I do? What can I help you with? Lest God opens the windows of heaven, there's no help for you." And then he asks her, what's the situation? What do you need help for? And she tells him, "Well, my neighbor made a deal with me that we would kill my baby and boil it and eat it yesterday, and then we were supposed to kill her baby, boil it and eat it today, but she is not living up to her end of the deal." And the king tore his robe, and he said this. Then he said, "God do to me, and more so also, if the head of Elijah, the son of Shaphat, remains on him today." So who's Elijah, or who is the king blaming for this problem? Elisha. It's that Christian over there. It's that believer in God that's causing this issue. It's not the decisions that they've made in the past. It's not how they've strayed from the things of God, the purposes of God, fellowship and relationship with God. It's that one believer over there. In 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 1, it says this, "And Elijah heard the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, tomorrow about this time, a seah of fine flour shall be sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria." Elijah had a word that the famine was going to be over. And there was a guy that overheard Elijah's word that the famine was going to be over. He was an officer of the king. And he started mocking him. He started making fun of him. "Yeah, right. How could that happen?" You know the story? There were a couple lepers outside of the gate. They said, "Hey, we can't go inside the gate. They'll kill us." Well, whether or not they'll kill us because we're lepers or we'll die because it's famine inside there, there's no future for us going inside the gate. There's no future for us standing outside the gate. Our best option right now is to go to the enemy's camp and see if they'll have pity on us and maybe give us some food. If they don't, they're just going to kill us and we would die anyhow. So you've got lepers who are outcasts now heading to the enemy's camp. And as they're on their way to the enemy's camp, what does the Lord do? Amplifies the sound of their travels and makes the enemy believe that armies are coming, and they stop right in the middle of their day. Stop with whatever they're doing, whatever tool, whatever possession, whatever they were cooking, whatever was in their hand, they drop it and they run. Just because of two outcasts. Just because of two outcasts. God used two outcasts to bring deliverance to the whole city. God is in the middle of this chess match that I mentioned, putting people in position. And he's going to use the outcast again to bring deliverance to this whole nation. So don't be afraid when you see high food prices, high gas prices. Know this: God's using the outcast to bring deliverance. If we were to read on, we would find that it took days for them to collect the spoil. It took days for them. Back around the election time, God gave me a word at that time. There was a governmental figure in this word, in this vision or picture that I had inside me. Governmental figure, and a big fist came and popped that governmental figure right in the nose. The difference about that governmental figure is that he wasn't flesh and blood. He was metal, a hard, brittle metal. So then when that big fist just came and popped him in the nose, he didn't just flinch. He shattered. He shattered. God's getting ready. God is positioning people to shatter that spirit that is behind the governmental system. So you don't need to be afraid. You don't need to fear. You don't need to be concerned. God sees your circumstance, sees your situation, and just as the people of Goshen didn't have to go through the night, you know what? When it was dark in Egypt, what was it like in Goshen? Light. They could see, they could operate, they could do business. They even got the day off, I'm assuming, because you can't step into the darkness and do the job you're supposed to do. Yeah, vacation, right. Just know this: the day of the outcast is coming. We see culture moving so far against biblical principles that we want to live our lives by. And there is a plan in place to break that system. To break that system. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid.